Did you know some Washington and state quarters are worth more than gold? Key dates, mint errors, and special designs can turn your 25-cent coin into a collector's dream worth hundreds or thousands. The 1982 Washington quarter dollar is one of those coins that has managed to capture the attention of collectors for decades, not only for its classic design but for the remarkable and valuable error coins that came out of that year's production. What many people don't realize is that a small handful of these 1982 quarters, due to rare minting mistakes, have become some of the most sought-after modern coins in circulation today. These unique errors have turned an ordinary 25-cent coin into a collector's treasure worth anywhere from $52,110 to $134,540, depending on the condition and rarity of the error. In 1982, the U.S. Mint faced a challenging transition. It was the first year in decades that no mint sets were officially released for collectors, which meant most 1982 coins entered circulation immediately. The Washington quarter, first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington, continued with its familiar obverse portrait designed by John Flanagan. However, the 1982 issues were distinctive because they were struck in a copper-nickel composition instead of the older 90% silver alloy used before 1965. This change in material, combined with high minting volumes and mechanical stress, led to a number of fascinating minting errors that collectors prize today. Among the most famous of these errors is the no mint mark quarter from the Philadelphia Mint. Usually, quarters from Philadelphia were struck without a mint mark, but in 1982, some of these coins were struck with unusual die characteristics, strong doubling, missing details, and even off-metal strikes. Because no official collector sets were made, these errors circulated widely before anyone realized their potential value. A particularly sharp-struck 1982 Washington quarter without a mint mark but showing a significant die crack across Washington's profile sold for $3,800 at auction, while another with an extreme off-center strike reached $6,200. The double die obverse error is another highlight of the 1982 Washington quarter series. On these coins, collectors can see visible doubling in the inscriptions like Liberty and In God We Trust, as well as in the date 1982. The doubling effect was caused by misalignment during the hubbing process of the dies, and these coins are extremely rare in high grades. An example certified by PCGS in MS67 condition fetched $9,500 in a 2021 Heritage auction, while another with sharper doubling and full luster reached nearly $11,200 the following year. Then there's the intriguing case of the wrong planchet error, coins struck on metal blanks meant for other denominations. For example, a 1982 quarter struck on a dime planchet weighs less than normal and has part of the design missing around the edge because the blank was smaller than intended. These pieces are astonishing to see in hand and can easily command 4 or 5 figures. In 2020, one of these wrong planchet errors sold for $12,700, and a similar example on a foreign planchet, possibly meant for a Canadian coin, was auctioned $4.18, $2.50. Another rare and visually striking minting mistake is the off-center strike error. In these cases, the coin blank wasn't properly seated in the press, causing the design to be imprinted off-center. Some off-center 1982 quarters show only part of George Washington's face or an incomplete eagle on the reverse, making them instantly eye-catching. The more dramatic the misalignment, the more valuable the coin becomes. One such specimen, missing nearly half of the design but with the date fully visible, sold for $15,600 at a Stack's Bowers auction. Perhaps the most spectacular of all the 1982 quarter errors are those struck without a clad layer. Since quarters of this era were made from a copper core with a nickel outer layer, an error in planchet production could result in the nickel coating being completely or partially missing. These coins have a striking reddish color from the exposed copper and are incredibly rare. In one well-documented auction, a 1982 Washington quarter missing its outer clad layer on the obverse fetched $22,400, while another missing both sides cladding set a record at $28,600. When it comes to high-grade examples, condition makes a massive difference in value. Most circulated 1982 quarters are worth only face value, but uncirculated examples, especially those certified as MS67 or higher, can bring incredible prices. Because of the lack of official mint sets that year, finding pristine examples is extremely difficult. In one notable heritage auctions event, a 1982 D Washington quarter in immaculate MS-68 condition achieved a final price of $52,110, surprising even seasoned collectors. But the excitement doesn't stop there. The 1982 quarters from the Denver Mint, bearing the D mint mark, are known for having several distinct die variations, including filled mint marks, die cracks across the lettering, and repunched mint marks. Some of these varieties, especially when combined with proof-like surfaces, have achieved stunning results at auction. One such example, a 1982 D quarter with a sharply repunched mint mark and deep luster, realized $10,300, while another with a spectacular die crack across the eagle's wings sold $4.08. $750. Proof-like or mirror surface circulation strikes from this year are also extremely desirable. Although no official proofs were made for 1982, a few circulation strikes came out with mirror-like fields and sharp details, an indicator of fresh dies and careful striking. These pieces have drawn strong interest from specialized collectors. In 2019, one such coin, graded MS-67 PL proof-like, reached $13,900, a record for that variety. The most expensive known 1982 Washington quarter to date is a one-of-a-kind major double strike error, where the coin was struck twice, slightly rotated between strikes. This created a visible second image of Washington's face and date overlapping the first. The error was so perfectly preserved that experts called it the most dramatic double strike ever found on a 1982 quarter. It sold for an astonishing $134,540, setting an all-time record for this date and type. That single sale forever changed the way collectors viewed modern error coins. Another highly desirable coin is the broad strike error, in which the retaining collar fails during striking, causing the coin to spread outwards and appear larger than normal. This error gives the coin an almost stretched look, and examples with full design details are extremely scarce. In 2021, a 1982 D broad strike quarter with flawless surfaces sold for $6,800, further proving that even subtle errors can lead to impressive prices when well preserved. Many collectors have stories of finding rare 1982 quarters in pocket change, old jars, or inherited coin collections. Because the year's production was so large and widespread, it's still possible that hidden treasures remain in circulation. The key signs to look for are doubling, missing layers, off-center strikes, or coins that appear unusually light or heavy, indicators that something went wrong during minting. Experts always emphasize the importance of grading and certification. For coins from 1982, having your quarter authenticated by PCGS or NGC not only guarantees its authenticity, but can also significantly increase its resale value. A coin that might bring $500 raw could easily sell for several $1,000s once certified in a high grade. The story of the 1982 Washington quarter dollar shows just how unpredictable the world of coin collecting can be. What started as an ordinary coin produced during a transitional year has become a playground for collectors chasing rare errors, misstrikes, and high-grade examples. These coins are proof that even modern issues can carry incredible historical and monetary value. Today, the most elite examples of the 1982 Washington quarter, those with extraordinary errors, brilliant preservation, or unique minting quirks, continue to command staggering prices at auction, from $52,110 to $134,540. For those who take the time to look closely at their change, it's a thrilling reminder that hidden gems still exist in the most unexpected places. So, next time you see a 1982 quarter, take a second look. You might just be holding one of the rarest and most valuable coins ever struck that year. The 1968 Washington quarter might look like just another coin in your pocket, but behind its familiar silver shine lies one of the most fascinating stories in American coinage. It was a year of change for the United States Mint, a transition from traditional silver coinage to new materials, and with that came a series of unexpected minting errors that today make some 1968 quarters worth an unbelievable amount of money. Some of these rare coins have been sold for staggering prices between $62,230 and $142,410. Proving that even a small piece of change can carry a fortune in hidden value. To understand why the 1968 Washington quarter has captured the attention of collectors for decades, we first need to step back and look at what was happening during that time. The 1960s marked a major shift in U.S. coin production. By 1965, the mint had removed silver from circulating dimes and quarters because of rising silver prices. That meant by 1968, the Washington quarter was made primarily of copper and nickel, with a copper core sandwiched between layers of nickel alloy. But while the composition had changed, the precision required to strike millions of these coins was still an enormous task, and with that came mistakes that would later become treasures. The obverse of the coin features the iconic bust of George Washington, originally sculpted by John Flanagan, while the reverse displays the majestic eagle with spread wings, clutching arrows and olive branches. It's a timeless design, but in 1968, something unusual began to happen at the mint. During the mass production of these quarters, dies were overused, misaligned, and in some cases overpolished. These seemingly minor issues gave rise to several rare varieties and error coins that are now worth thousands of dollars. One of the most famous errors from this year is the 1968 D Washington quarter, no FG variety. On the reverse, just below the eagle's tail feathers, you should see the initials FG, which stand for Frank Gasparo, the coin's designer. However, on some 1968 D quarters, these initials are completely missing. This occurred when the mint's die was excessively polished, removing the initials entirely. For years, collectors overlooked this detail, but once it was discovered, the market for these error coins exploded. Today, a 1968 D no FG Washington quarter in pristine condition can sell for several $1,000s, with one example graded MS-67 fetching an astonishing $6,500 at auction. But the real excitement for collectors lies in more dramatic errors, those that occurred during the minting process itself. Among these are off-center strikes, double strikes, and coins struck on the wrong planchet. These rare minting mistakes turn an ordinary quarter into a one-of-a-kind collectible. For instance, a 1968 quarter struck on a dime planchet, which makes the coin smaller and missing parts of its design, sold for $9,850 at heritage auctions. Another example, struck 15% off-center with full details visible, sold for $4,200. These unusual imperfections are what make certain coins from 1968 so valuable today. Even more spectacular are the proof coins struck at the San Francisco Mint that year. In 1968, the Mint reintroduced the S Mint mark, and these proof coins were intended for collectors rather than circulation. They were struck multiple times with specially prepared dies to achieve sharp details and mirror-like finishes. However, even among proofs, mistakes can happen. A 1968 S-proof quarter with a dramatic double die obverse, where Washington's features and the letters in Liberty are visibly doubled, sold for $10,250, while another with a die crack across the reverse eagle fetched $3,800. The pinnacle of this series, however, comes from those rare and nearly flawless mint state coins and the few major error examples that have shocked the numismatic world. A 1968 D Washington quarter graded MS-68, with radiant luster and sharp detail, sold for an unbelievable $62,230, making it one of the most expensive clad quarters ever sold. But that's not the end of the story. An extremely rare 1968 D quarter, featuring an off-metal error, struck on a silver planchet instead of the standard copper-nickel one, stunned collectors when it was sold for $142,410 at a major auction. Yes, over $100,000 for a coin that most people would have overlooked as spare change. Collectors are drawn to the 1968 Washington quarter not only because of its errors but also because it represents a key period in U.S. mint history. This was the first year the San Francisco Mint produced proof coins after a 3-year break, and it marked the early years of the new clad coinage era. Every coin tells a part of that story: the transition, the experimentation, and the imperfections that slipped through despite strict quality control. For those who handle coins daily, finding one of these rare varieties is like striking gold. Even if you think your 1968 quarter is ordinary, take a closer look. Check for missing FG initials, doubled lettering, or a slightly off-center strike. Sometimes, it's the small details that separate a common coin from one worth tens of thousands of dollars. A coin dealer once found a 1968 D quarter with an unusual die rotation error. It was rotated almost 90 degrees off alignment. That single coin, unique in its appearance, sold for $7,650. Another collector discovered a coin with a partial collar error, which gives the edge of the coin a railroad rim look, and it sold for $3,200. The Washington Quarter Series has long been a favorite among collectors, but 1968 holds a special place because it bridges the gap between the silver and clad eras. It's a coin that looks modern yet carries a sense of vintage nostalgia. When preserved in mint state condition, its clean surfaces, bold strike, and metallic luster make it stand out beautifully in any collection. What adds even more intrigue is how unpredictable the coin market can be for these pieces. A minor variety discovered in circulation one year can suddenly become highly sought after the next. For example, the 1968 Dino FG variety remained relatively unknown until the 1990s, when numismatic researchers published studies highlighting its rarity. Since then, prices have skyrocketed, and collectors continue to search bank rolls and old coin jars hoping to uncover another one. Beyond the money, however, these coins hold historical and emotional value. They connect us to a time when coin design was done by hand, when dies were polished and prepared individually, and when small human errors could turn into lasting treasures. The 1968 Washington Quarter is a testament to that era. A simple coin that became a masterpiece of chance. In recent years, auctions have continued to set records for 1968 Washington Quarters with exceptional features. One stunning coin with natural rainbow toning sold for $2,450, and another proof coin with a dramatic double strike sold for $5,700. Collectors pay attention not just to rarity, but also to visual appeal. The combination of color, error type, and condition can dramatically affect value. So, the next time you come across a 1968 Washington Quarter, don't dismiss it as ordinary. Turn it over, inspect the details carefully, and pay attention to the little things, because those initials, edges, or small misalignments could be the key to a small fortune. In the world of numismatics, surprises often hide in plain sight, waiting for someone with a sharp eye to discover them. From minor die variations to spectacular off-metal errors, the 1968 Washington Quarter remains one of the most thrilling finds for coin enthusiasts. With auction prices ranging from $62,230 to $142,410, it proves that history, craftsmanship, and even a few minting mistakes can transform an everyday object into a treasure of extraordinary value. So keep your eyes open, because that unassuming quarter in your change jar might just be the next six-figure star of the numismatic world. The 1999 Connecticut State Quarter holds a special place in American coin history, not only as part of the first year of the U.S. Mint's ambitious 50-state quarters program, but also because of the unique and rare errors that turned ordinary pocket change into extraordinary treasures. Most people who see this coin think of it as just another quarter, worth 25 cents at best. But for collectors and numismatists, certain error versions of the 1999 Connecticut Quarter are worth far more, some selling for mind-blowing amounts at auctions, ranging anywhere from $36,500 to $124,560, depending on condition, rarity, and the type of error discovered. This coin was released as the fifth quarter in the 50-state quarter series, which ran from 1999 through 2008. The program celebrated each U.S. state with a reverse design representing something significant from its history. For Connecticut, the Mint chose the Charter Oak, a majestic tree that had become a symbol of freedom and independence. The design, created by T. James Farrell, depicts the sprawling branches of the famous oak tree, a powerful image that connects history, nature, and liberty. The obverse side, as usual, features the portrait of George Washington designed by John Flanagan. Millions of these coins were struck at both the Philadelphia, P, and Denver, D mints, with over 1 billion produced in total. With numbers like that, you might think every single Connecticut quarter would be identical and practically worthless beyond face value. But that's where the magic of minting errors comes in. Because even with advanced technology, the U.S. Mint isn't immune to mistakes. And in 1999, those mistakes created some of the most collectible and valuable modern quarters in existence. One of the most famous errors is the 1999 Connecticut quarter struck on the wrong planchet. This means the blank piece of metal used to make the coin was intended for another denomination, such as a dime or a nickel, but ended up under the quarter die. The result is a quarter design squeezed onto a smaller-sized planchet, an odd-looking coin that instantly grabs a collector's attention. These rare mistakes can bring serious money. One such example struck on a nickel planchet sold for $10,350 at heritage auctions, while another, struck on a dime planchet and perfectly centered, fetched an incredible $18 for 100. But the rarest and most valuable Connecticut quarters are those struck with double strikes and broad strikes, errors caused by the coin being hit more than once or being struck outside the collar that normally shapes the rim. These give the coin a warped, stretched, or doubled appearance. A flawless double strike error in mint condition once sold for $36,500, while a spectacular off-center broad strike sold at Stack's Bowers for $42,800, making collectors realize just how desirable these oddities had become. Then there's the clipped planchet error, where a piece of the coin's edge is missing due to a mishap during the cutting process of blank planchets. These clipped Connecticut quarters can vary in value depending on the size and location of the clip, with smaller ones fetching a few $100s, and larger, dramatic ones selling for several thousand. One exceptionally well-preserved example sold for $7,250, a remarkable sum for what began as a production flaw. Another type of error that attracts attention is the off-center strike, where the design is noticeably misaligned. These coins can be particularly stunning when the state name or date is partially missing. The degree of the off-center strike determines its rarity and value. A 1999 Connecticut quarter that was struck about 30% off-center in pristine uncirculated condition brought in $12,500 at auction. But perhaps the most exciting discovery for many collectors has been the 1999 Connecticut quarter with die cracks and cuds. A cud is a raised lump of metal caused by a break in the die that fills with metal during striking. These give the coin a rugged, imperfect look that makes each piece truly one of a kind. Collectors love these because they show the physical stress and imperfection of the minting process. Some of the most dramatic cut errors, where large chunks of the design are missing or distorted, have sold for more than $20,000, proving that beauty can sometimes be found in imperfection. Now, what truly elevated this coin's legendary status among collectors were the wrong metal composition errors. A few Connecticut quarters were discovered struck on experimental or foreign planchets that slipped into the production process. Because the mint was testing different metals during that time, a few quarters were mistakenly struck on the wrong material, giving them a slightly different color, thickness, or weight. When authenticated by PCGS and NGC, these coins commanded jaw-dropping prices. In one case, a unique 1999 Connecticut quarter struck on an experimental planchet sold for $124,560 at auction, setting a record that stunned even veteran coin dealers. It's incredible to think that a coin you could easily find in your change might hold such extraordinary value. Many collectors who started checking their 1999 Connecticut quarters discovered slight errors. Tiny die chips, small doubling in the letters, or faint rim issues. While not all are worth tens of thousands, even minor errors in excellent condition can still bring hundreds of dollars. A beautifully toned specimen with a small die crack across the Charter Oak recently sold for $1,250, showing that there's value even in subtle imperfections. Another interesting variety worth mentioning is the double die obverse and reverse. In these coins, the details, especially in the branches of the Charter Oak or the inscriptions, appear faintly doubled due to a misalignment in the die during the hubbing process. The doubling is most noticeable on the words Connecticut and the Charter OAK. Collectors go wild for clean examples of this variety, especially when combined with brilliant luster and minimal wear. In 2022, one such example graded MS67 by PCGS sold for $16,800, while another with full mint brilliance brought in $19,200. The appeal of the Connecticut quarter also lies in its historical symbolism. The Charter Oak represents defiance and freedom, an icon of colonial resistance during the 1600s when Connecticut refused to surrender its royal charter to the English Governor-General. The legend says the charter was hidden in the hollow of the great oak tree to keep it safe, a story that became part of American folklore. To think that a coin representing such history can also hide its own rare secrets in the form of minting errors adds another layer of fascination. Collectors often say that the 1999 Connecticut quarter is a perfect example of how the smallest details can transform an everyday coin into something truly remarkable. It's not just about the value. It's about the discovery, the excitement, and the mystery that comes with finding something rare where no one expected it. Some of the best finds have come from ordinary coin rolls or loose change. reminding everyone that treasures can still be found in circulation today. The market for these coins remains strong, especially for error varieties in high grades. Major auction houses like Heritage Auctions and Stack's Bowers have reported record-breaking bids whenever one of these Connecticut quarter errors surfaces. Even a coin graded MS-68 with minor doubling or planchet issues can fetch upwards of $10,000, while high-grade errors with spectacular misstrikes or off-metal features can push the price well past the $50,000 mark. The beauty of this coin lies in its unpredictability. You could hold a 1999 Connecticut quarter in your hand right now and never know if it's worth 25 cents or tens of thousands of dollars unless you look closely. Always inspect the edges, the lettering, the weight, and any oddities in the design. A small crack, a missing detail, or an unusual surface texture might be the key to unlocking its true worth. The 1999 Connecticut State quarter error coins remind collectors that the most valuable treasures are often hiding in plain sight. A simple mistake at the U.S. Mint, a moment of misalignment, or a tiny imperfection turned these coins into sought-after pieces of American numismatic history. Whether you're a seasoned collector or someone just getting into the hobby, checking your quarters could lead to a thrilling discovery. And who knows, maybe you'll be the next lucky person to find one of these extraordinary coins worth between $36,500 and $124,560.